A reasonable assurance of safety is defined in 21 CFR 860.7D1. There is reasonable assurance that a device is safe when it can be determined based on valid scientific evidence that the probable benefits to health from use of the device for its intended uses and conditions of use, when accompanied by adequate directions and warnings against unsafe use, outweigh any probable risks. The valid scientific evidence used to determine the safety and effectiveness of the device shall adequately demonstrate the absence of unreasonable risk of illness or injury associated with the use of the device for its intended uses and conditions of use. The two key points I would like to make here are that when using the device properly, the probable benefits to health should outweigh any probable risks, and that there should be an absence of unreasonable risk of illness or injury.
More rare and severe adverse events were also reported in these studies. 2 cases of new onset epileptic seizure and 1 death.
Potential risk of seizure, just take that one off the list. It hasn't happened in 31 years.
FDA has identified several potential risks of CES. Potential risk of seizure.
Potential risk of seizure. I've not seen any of that.
I don't think the risk of seizures is real.
Dr. Min, you mentioned under the risks that there was a death and 2 seizures. And our material discusses that there was a death 3 months after CES treatment, but there's no mention of seizures. I was wondering if you could elaborate on that.
The seizures occurred in a paper by Philip, and I can tell you that this was a study of psychiatric inpatients with major depressive disorder, and in this study, 2 patients had new onset epileptic seizures during a 5-day washout period that occurred prior to CES treatment. So this is a case where it's like the seizures are likely not attributed to the CES device, but we reported it here simply because we were reporting all of the adverse events that occurred in the studies.
My question is this for the panel. The devices have been used for approximately 30 years. There were, for instance, over 8.5 million treatments administered between 2007 and 2011. They're also used worldwide, even without a prescription. Over that immense period of time, if there was truly a safety issue, isn't it likely that that would be very obvious and we wouldn't have to concern ourselves with potential issues or problems?
The list of potential adverse events, is this a complete and accurate list? And I don't think it's accurate based on the only 2 seizures that were described happened before the treatment actually was used.
I think we should be considering safety separately from efficacy. I think they've demonstrated safely beyond any reasonable doubt.
I would again just mention that there have been cases where things have been thought to be safe and proved not to be. Certain drugs, thalidomide, Trovan, fenformin, others that were ultimately went through all kinds of clinical trials and fulfilled all the criteria we just talked about, but when actually released and used the way patients sometimes use things, in addition to a bunch of other variable factors that we can't control, they subsequently caused fatalities and had to be pulled from the market. And everybody knew about that. So that was well published. So in contrast, here we have a product that's been out for, again, 30 years, widely used, and we haven't really read about any significant safety issues or fatalities anywhere.
I don't think the risk of seizures is real.
I would suggest omitting a potential risk of seizures.
Seizures, the only seizures known were in the article where it happened to patients who had not been exposed to the treatment.
Patients are looking for treatments. Many of us are resistant to many different treatments. There seem to be little to no risks for this one. So I would say absolutely.
Almost a complete lack of safety concerns.
As far as do these characteristics population alter the risk of worsening the conditions of treated adverse events from electrical stimulation of the brain, such as seizures? We've already said that, again, there is really no risk to this population, and I still can't for the life of me understand how seizures was originally put in here when the only reference came from patients who weren't treated with the device. I just can't understand.